Hello, my name is Joe Tave, and I'm a resident of Dallas, Texas. Been so for the past, coming up on 32 years. And of course, I'm a native East Texan from Mineola, Texas, which is just east of here, about 79 miles. But I have a very strong affinity for Dallas because my mother was born on the Trinity River bottoms in 1911. And so I take pride of that fact. So anybody talking about being native Dallasite, etc. But my mother was born here in 1911, February the 8th of 1911. And for some reason, after my grandmother died, she died on the Trinity River bottoms there about 1920. And so my grandfather either married and moved to Lindale, Texas, or he moved from Dallas to Lindale. And of course, that's where my mother and my father met. And otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So when people talk about caring for Dallas or having an affinity for Dallas, you can't. I don't think you do much better than that. And I'm a retired educator, and I'm also a retired entrepreneur. I had a number of businesses over the years, pretty much wherever it is that I've lived. But I had always had my Texas teaching certificate, and so as a result of that, I would teach school and then sometimes run my businesses simultaneously, and otherwise do one or the other. So that's pretty much sums things up for me. I have my wife, Dolores, and then I have three children, two natural children and a stepdaughter, and I have four grandchildren, and what have you. So they range in age from 3 years to 26. I think my oldest is approaching 26 as far as grandchildren are concerned. So that pretty much sums things up about me personally. I'm a alumni or an alumnus of East Texas State University and also Wiley College at Marshall, Texas. I spent my freshman year at Wiley College at Marshall. Then I transferred to East Texas State University at Commerce, which is now Texas A&M Commerce. And so I graduated from McFarland High School in Mineola, Texas, and I was a proud participant in the PVIL, which was the Peer Review Interscholastic League. In my day as a teenager, late 60s, early 70s, up to about 1980, there were two UILs. You had the Peer Review Interscholastic League, which was for blacks, and then you had the UIL, which was for whites. And then when they merged, and of course you know who always comes out on the losing end, the PVIL was done away with, and there were like 500 schools, high schools, that remember the old PVIL league, etc. So, and if you want to get some information on that, I encourage you to really do some research historically as far as education is concerned, and then just Google Peer Review Interscholastic League, and you have to have days, if not weeks, to go through all of the history that is there that we hear nothing about, and the majority of people know absolutely nothing about. And of course, now we know it's just the UIL, University Interscholastic League. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it as far as my the personal side. And then, like I said, I have a bachelor's and master's degree from East Texas State University, and I spent about 12 years working on the college level as an administrator and teacher at the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville, Southwest Minnesota State University in Marshall, Minnesota, and the University of Texas Permian Basin, located in Odessa, Texas. I don't consider anything a claim to fame, but my wife, as far as the book and the story of Friday Night Lights that dealt with Odessa Permian High School and the Dallas Carter Cowboys, that's where the term Friday Night Lights came from, and my wife was in that book probably There was almost an entire section done on her because like she was the counselor for the kids that were seniors, Booby Miles and others at Odessa Permian at this time. And then I'm in a documentary called The Big Shootout, The Life and Times of 1969, where the story is covered, well, the game of the century was called, and the last all-white national championship, as far as the game was concerned, that was played in 1969 in Fayetteville, in Texas. The University of Texas at Austin came from behind and won the game 15-14. President Nixon was there. George Bush Warren was there. Bill Clinton was a student. I think he was in law school. And then two of the Walton boys were in school at the time. Jerry Jones was getting his MBA at the university at the time. And whatever, so I'm in that documentary, and it's been out several years. And one other documentary that I'm in that highlights the activity that I was involved in at East Texas State University. First of all, I'd like to say John Carlos and I, Dr. John Carlos, 1968 Olympian, he and I were good friends at East Texas State. He left and ended up out at San Jose State, where he met up with Harry Edwards and others, and ended up going and participating in the Olympic Games in Mexico City the summer, early fall of 1968. And that documentary is called A Clear Channel. And so all of that can be Googled. And then the documentary on the big shootout, it's 2 hours plus long, but it's a docu-movie. Other than that, I've been an educator in Dallas ISD, Wilma Hutchins, Fort Worth ISD, several charter schools, a couple of charter schools. Let me see, any other ISD? And of course, DeSoto ISD, and I'm a retired government and African American history teacher from DeSoto ISD or DeSoto High School. My community service covers a gamut and an array of activities because it's just part of my nature. I guess it came from East Texas, the kind of family I came out of, kind of community, always doing something or wanting to do something to make a difference. But anyway, here are some of the activities and involvements that I have been in as far as my Dallas community service. I was on the City of Dallas Safety Advisory Committee, Friends of WRR Radio, former board of directors for the Black Academy of Arts and Letters, working with Dr. Curtis King, which was a tremendous pleasure. I worked at the Dallas Sickle Cell Disease Association. When I moved to Dallas in 1991 and I met Don Albert Lipscomb, I went to a couple of meetings and I had conceptualized this concept for what we call the Multicultural Youth Summit. And so I worked with Roy Williams and Richard Evans to get that started. And so it was called the Multicultural Youth Summit. Former vice chair of the City of Dallas Civil Service Board. And Dallas is a home rule city. And so it has its own civil service system, whereas Fort Worth and San Antonio and other large cities in Dallas make up. They have they're part of the state's civil service committee. But anyway, I was vice chair for the City of Dallas, and I worked with the Grinder Middle School Academic Student Selection Committee, former NAACP Education Chair. I've served on the Bethlehem Foundation Board, the Punch Family Foundation. And then I served on the Community Development Commission for the City of Dallas, NAACP member, and then professionally the National Education Association and Texas State Teachers Association member, member of Kirkwood CME Church. I worked with the Dallas 2000 Plan or the Pegasus Plan, Dallas Plan Community Action Conference participant, Blood Cardona, lifelong. I volunteered with the Hoop It Up program. I don't know if any of y'all remember they used to have that activity here at downtown Dallas. I think it was like 303 or whatever it was called. But anyway, so I worked with that. Now I've been a Dallas Public School volunteer. I work with the Dallas Metropolitan United Way, KERA member, South Dallas Fairport Trust Fund Board, Texas Alliance for the Arts. And then I worked with the Dallas Fort Worth Million Father. I was the local Million Father March organizer. So that covers pretty much Dallas. And then, of course, every place I've lived, every place I've lived, I've been active and involved. Because like it takes people who care about their community, who care for other folks, and regardless of their status, racial, economic, or whatsoever, that somebody has to be out attempting or doing their best to make a difference. So it's just it's second nature for me to put forth a maximum effort to make things right or right wrongs that many have experienced. And so many of us have ascended to where we are now, professionally or personally, whether it's nice homes or good jobs, but that has not always been the case. And anybody would be lying if they would say anything other. And of course, there were better opportunities in Dallas for early on people doing very well. But en masse, people came from East Texas to Dallas, and people from Mineola, they either came to Dallas or they went past Dallas and they ended up out in California. And one of the most prominent Americans and native son of Mineola is former Speaker of the California State Assembly and Mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown. And whatever. So he was born and raised in Mineola, finished high school, etc. So anyway, so that I guess covers that arena in terms of my involvement and the kind of things that shaped and molded me into who and what I am. I was raised by my mother and my father, and I'm not a spring chicken. I'm not young, but I was raised by my mother and my father, and whatever. So I don't have those stories of perhaps maybe a grandparent raising me or an uncle and an aunt or what the case is. But my uncles and aunts lived on my father's side. They went to the Second World War. They came back and then they lived in Mineola, and so they were there to form that those bonds and to help us to have some stability in our lives. And of course, my mother's sister lived here in Dallas and in West Dallas. And I'm just going to say this: somebody might not like it, but some of the prettiest girls I ever seen in my life were in those projects. And I used to love to come to Dallas in the summer or weekends, and in most cases to visit my cousins and my aunt. And I had a couple of brothers, two brothers that lived up here, here too. But Fish Trap, Bainbridge, some of the streets I remember, and definitely some of the prettiest girls I ever seen in my life. So, and I don't mind saying that. I don't mind saying that. And if you have a problem with hearing it, well, that's okay too. Yeah. So anyway, so with that, Dallas is home. And I consider Dallas a part of East Texas, and then East Texas strong, and whatever. So a lot of us from those areas, we brought that to Dallas, and so it's time for us to make sure that we give rebirth to that sense of community, not the exploitation that many of our leaders and others seem to want to perpetrate on us. But the thing is that we sit back and we take it, and so if we take it, then it's all right. So why stop if you're not resisting, and etc. So anyway, so I just don't feel that kind of thing is necessary. Then when it comes to politics, people get caught up in a seat, and they say, well, Joe Tave, that's Joe Tave's seat. No, the seat doesn't belong to Joe Tave, hypothetically. The seat doesn't belong to Joe Tave. It belongs to the people, and then and the people have the power. And then it's just like we sit and we complain about the cost of gasoline, the price of food. Listen, don't buy it. Don't buy it if you don't want to pay all that money for a dozen of eggs, which is ridiculous. Don't buy it, and the price will come down. If the gasoline is going to be sitting in the tanks at the service stations, you have to understand that if that product is moving and turning, It's likely to turn to water if it stays in there too long. But if that product isn't moving, they got to come back because they got to sell it. So when we decide that we've had enough of being exploited and abused in whatever way, shape, form, or fashion, then when the constituents and the consumers say no, and then they have the government, everybody, they have no choice but to listen and to respond. A lot of people don't understand that, and they say, "Oh, so well, I got money, I've got credit cards, I can do this, I can do that." Well, perhaps, but there are those so many folks who don't have those kind of means and whatever, and they struggle from day to day, and then even people that that are homeless, and some of us have been maybe at any given time in our lives may have been just a pen stroke away or a step away from being homeless or returning to the poverty that we didn't know about when we were growing up, and these kinds of things. And so I have an ultra sensitivity to that and to the needs of and the needs of people and the needs of a community. And so I have committed, and then I am committed to wherever I'm until the Lord says, "Servant well done," and I certainly want it to be that servant well done, and not just referencing it at a funeral service or my funeral service, but I really want servant well done to mean more than I did so much for just my family and friends, but for the whole, and then spreading as much agape love as God would have us to do as is humanly possible.
Man, I'm impressed. So you want to say anything where you think Dallas needs to go? What changes need to be made?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you'll edit it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I just been prompted to address the where Dallas is and where it's going. Well, Dallas is where it pretty much has been since its inception, and moving from slavery, for the case or enslavement with the Miller family and others that that came here, and then Browns, and for the case of, when I say Brown, I'm referencing Mexican and other Hispanics, those that came. But Dallas has always been a conservative town, but it's been cosmopolitan, because what you see happening is that people from rural areas, and not just East Texas or whatever, but from all around the state and the states that surround Texas, they've come in here, and they've been conservative folks, and many of them got opportunities, white, black, brown, the whole spectrum, and so they all prospered in this mecca right in the middle of almost no place as far as like natural resources, oil to the east and oil to the west, oil and natural gas to the east, with the East Texas oil field, and the Permian Basin to the west, and then not close to water like Houston. So Dallas is just kind of like an island stuck right in the middle of nowhere, and then it has prospered. But and what I mean by it's where it has been. Dallas is still conservative, and I think with the failure of good leadership, a committed, honest leadership in the southern sector of Dallas and the black community specifically, we've lost a lot in terms of communities that were predominantly black at one point in time, and so to now with gentrification, and for example, FYI, the situation that's happened just a few months back with North Park and have to. I'm trying to restate that one. North Park out near, I guess it's near the airport. In terms of gentrification, they're in the fight. In terms of whites moving in there, taking over the neighborhood, building these $1 million houses and things of this nature. Well, I don't know if that kind of progress could have been stopped or at least ameliorated, where that it won't be such a horrible impact. So that goes to the same holds true for it was North Park, Elm Thicket, and a community and whatever. So planning and zoning made some differences there, and bucked the establishment and people disrespecting because they have money or they have access to it. So anyway, so this is where Dallas is, And so Dallas hadn't changed. You can say what you want. President Kennedy was killed here. We had a situation regarding the police officers who were killed, and then there's this story true about the hanging of the African American a man in downtown and these kind of things. And so Dallas has been truly Southern, and then conservative, and so it's at that point. Well, obviously, all the constituents are satisfied with that, because like unless you make changes in terms of who represents you and who speaks up and out for you, it's like silence gives consent. So if you're being silent, then you're consenting to whatever the situation is. So that's where we are. So then, where is it going? I think we don't need just new leadership. Even if old leadership would go in, if you want to redo an old car, go and you work on the engine and the transmission, and then redo the insides and the outs with cases, and you still got a 1964 Chevelle or a 1962 Mustang or whatever the case is. It's just been rebuilt. So either leadership, particularly black leadership, needs to restructure and rebuild, and then do what is necessary for the areas that they represent, or you need new leadership, not somebody that's just popping out of the woodwork and somebody says, well, here's the person, because like what is happening in Dallas and in Black Dallas, as I have surmised and analyzed over years, is that home is where the heart is. Home is where the heart is. And so having been born and raised, and my folks going back to enslavement in the mid-1850s at Mineola, just 79 miles east of Dallas. If that's where my heart is in Mineola, and I live in Dallas, and I've reaped all these benefits from it. But if that's where my heart is, I would not care an awful lot about what goes on in Dallas. And I think that's one of the problems that we're faced with, because I've analyzed that. I look at all the people from where they have come, and it's very interesting, because like you can get in your car and leave Dallas, and in an hour you definitely farther into East Texas, and then you can drive 2 hours and you're in Louisiana on Interstate 20 or US 80, and then Interstate 30 will take you into, I guess, Arkansas and over into Mississippi, and then just a drive north, you're on 75. Yes, 75, and then you're in Oklahoma. And of course, when you head west, you drive you have to drive several hours to get out towards El Paso and whatever the case is. But you can leave any point in Dallas, and then you can be back at your home. It could be in another state, another part of Texas, south and west. So I don't know if people really have that true commitment and that true loyalty to Dallas. They did well, and what the case is, but they can go home at any moment. But home is where the heart is. So if it's Dallas, then you'll have more concern and commitment to make Dallas what it was when you benefited, and then you're looking out for the future. So where Dallas is going is going to be determined a lot about leadership and the quality and the character of leaders that are elected, or even if it's in the pulpit. There are many preachers that have come into Dallas, and they've built mega churches, and they come from Mississippi and Arkansas and I guess Louisiana, but particularly Mississippi and Arkansas, some of the most prominent churches in Dallas. And yes, I'm talking about the church that you're thinking about, or the church that you're thinking about. Those pastors like from Arkansas and from Mississippi, etc. So again, home is where the heart is. So what is your choice as an individual to really invest in Dallas, to make it better, by saying this is my home, rather than the fact that I live in Dallas, Texas. So our leadership politically, from the pulpit, and those of us who are in the pews, we need to determine what Dallas' future is going to be and what role each of us will play in that. If we continue to be silent, then we're going to continue to experience the things that we have experienced over the years. Much too great a price was paid right here in Dallas by blacks and early Mexicans and definitely Native Americans. But a much too great a price was paid, and for us just to be content with the status quo and say, oh, well, I got mine. The only reason that you have yours is because of the sacrifices that somebody made ahead of you. And I put a piece in my book, If Trees Could Talk, and I addressed that issue generically for myself and just for people in general who would listen. And it was just a little quip. I said, all that I am today was yesterday and hope to be tomorrow is because of who someone was and what they did yesterday. So if you, first of all, your mom and your daddy got you here, okay? You didn't just pop out the sky. So you owe that to your parents and other ancestors and whatever. So, but what about those people along the way in our communities that helped to mold and, and shape us and how our parents raised us, etc. So that didn't just pop out the sky. So we owe where we are right now to what somebody was and what they did on yesterday. In closing, I like to just share with you, I really wasn't giving so much a political message. It's just an experiential message that I was really sharing pretty much about my life and then people and significance of life and folks in our lives and family and communities. But I am a candidate for Dallas City Council, District 3. The election is May the 6th, 2023, and then early voting will start April the 24th through May the 2nd of 2023, which isn't that very far off. So if you register to vote, and if please, I would appreciate your supporting me. And then if you're not registered, get in touch with me or the NAACP or the county voting department so that you can get registered, not just for this race, so that you will be registered, period, because it's a good feeling to be registered, and it's an even better feeling when you vote. And if you'd like to contact me regarding my campaign, you can contact me by calling 469-951-8013, 469-951-8013, or you can contact me by mail at Joe Tave for Dallas or Joe Tave Campaign, Post Office Box 764-682, Dallas, Texas 75376. But I'm certainly not going to end this the way I began. I should have said something about God. But anyway, I'll end with God bless you in everything that you do and all that you do. And may God keep you and your family safe and every effort that you put forward. But share the love. That's what's important in this day and time, is that we share the love.